Blessings, everyone. Okay, my name is Noemi Soto. I am with BG2G. And this presentation is basically a summary of all the research that I have done. I have been involved and kind of looking at government accountability and all the movements that have been at work for the last 15 years. And this is basically a culmination of all the strategies that are available for U.S. citizens today to engage in that I feel will be most effective, efficient, and strategic for such a time as this. In this presentation, we are going to be talking about 7 primary strategies, of which they are strategies for civic action now, civic education now, enlisting the trained, the context of civil disobedience, freedom of the press, psychological endurance, and repairing what was harmed. This is just an introduction to this series and basically just getting your feet wet as to what is going to be necessary and why. The how is already available. You just need to plug in. So, civic action now. This the one that makes the most sense for such a time as now is precinct strategy. This entire presentation is filled with links and resources and highlights so that you can go straight to the horse's mouth, go straight to their website and get all the information. This is just a taste of what's happening, so you know maybe what resonates with you and what you're willing to do in this hour and in this season. So civic action basically is invade the Republican Party, regardless of what affiliation you are. The owner of the kind of like the founder of this strategy, Dan Schultz, basically did massive amounts of investigation regarding the Republican Party and found that it was operating at almost 1/3 capacity. That means that our Republican Party has been 2/3 vacant. And so it is logical, very strategic. No matter what you are, we need reasonable people, whether you're libertarian or Tea Party or green, I don't know, tea, whatever, like the parties are, independent, infiltrate the Republican Party. They we need sensible, rational people who understand that, like in politics right now, in the positions of power to make decisions, and to start basically holding the line on all the agendas that are trying to be pushed on us, that are trying to eliminate our freedoms. In the precinct strategy, basically the strategy is become a politician, become a Republican, go become a town committee member, recruit to drain the swamp. You know, people, they get into all the information is there on the precinct strategy website. Join the network, you will get plugged in. Yeah, so that's one. Civic action now. Civic education now. National Liberty Alliance, as I said before, just has like the exhaustive concordance of U.S. history in its like just it. I don't even know how to say it. It's like it's so exhaustive. You go to their website. Their mission, their plan is kind of threefold. It basically involves establishing committees of safety. Committees of safety are basically like the political parties, except not a party, just a group of people who care about their local community, lawfully establishing a committee, just like in the precinct project here, become a town committee, right, of the Republican Party. You can become lawfully, you can create a town committee of, an independent party, or a town committee of the Tea Party, party. And so you can lawfully create a committee, a town committee of safety amongst your peers, and basically become what some people are calling kind of like a watchdog group or organization, where you're committing to basically hold your local government accountable. So this is all grassroots movement, empowering the people to take action now. This as well can start being implemented if you decide to go this route. All the information, all the steps, the entire blueprint of what you need to do, what steps, is all outlined on the website. Their website has all the resources to that. And there's just so many benefits on this website. The other part of their services or their agenda that they're bringing is the establishment of the grand jury. The grand jury is kind of like a fourth government in our U.S. Constitution, established by our U.S. Constitution. And that is basically, we the people, we have the power. If we lawfully assemble, we can, and go through paperwork, and all the instructions are on their website. We can establish that jury trial, and we can try our current mayor, our elected officials, with evidence, and we can present, I get confused between an indictment or a presentment. I think a presentment is when someone else solicits the grand jury and they're like, look, like a whistleblower comes and says there's corruption here with these people, and then the grand jury can lawfully investigate and try the evidence. Okay, this is so important because people don't, it's like juries are MIA, right? You don't see them in court anymore because prosecutors are always doing plea bargains, and just really it's a manipulative system. But the grand jury is independently assembled by the people. This is so important. The grand jury is independently assembled by the people, but there are rules and regulations that govern that, and all the information is at the nationallibertyalliance.org site. The other part of their agenda is they are focusing as well on the constitutional sheriffs and rebuilding the militia. And for those of you who attend this kind of webinar presentation, I will be disseminating to those who sign up and kind of give your information some of these handouts. All of these handouts are also available absolutely free at National Liberty Alliance. Like the wealth of information that is on this site is unparalleled in the USA. I cannot stress that enough. So, enlisting the trained. Strategy number 3 is basically the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Sheriffs are a constitutional office, just like the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. The sheriff is an elected official by the people, and he is the law enforcement arm of we the people. They have the power to arrest anybody that they have evidence, due process kind of like belief that they are committing a crime. And so, but what's happened, I would say, is throughout time, many sheriffs don't know their power and they don't understand this authority that they've been given by being an elected official. So on this website, you get all the information, all the laws, the statutory authorities, the constitutional authorities, everything that you need to talk and empower your sheriff to basically, know that they can fight and protect their constituents' constitutional rights. And anybody who wants to violate your rights, they can arrest. Now, for the state of Connecticut, this is kind of like a disclaimer here. For the state of Connecticut, however, we were hoodwinked, I want to say, into voting the sheriff out of our constitutional, out of our constitution back in 2000. In 2000, there was a constitutional question on the ballot that basically said, can we repeal the sheriff? And the majority who voted, voted yes, sure, why not? Okay. But this really is unlawful. It's like, can we put on the ballot, can we vote the governor, out of our constitution? No, we don't want to do that. Right. And so part of the role of the sheriff, I did an extensive study on the CT sheriff system and what happened. And I can definitely dive in much deeper into this for anybody who feels that this is more their calling. But part of, what was I going to say? Part of their role was, one, monitoring the courts, right? So basically monitoring judicial rulings for any encroachment of we the people, and also monitoring like police misconduct and like misconduct in the jails. So part of the sheriffs here in Connecticut, this is why all of this has basically been gone haywire, is that there's no accountability there's a gap now that there's no sheriff. But I would say that it's possible the gap was longer than 2000. I don't think the sheriffs themselves at the time knew that they had power to arrest the governor, for misconduct, that they had power to arrest their fellow police officer or even the police chief or whoever they needed to arrest, because they are the law enforcement arm of the people, elected. So they were at the highest position. So much education needs to be done there. Oathkeepers.org was founded by veterans who understand their oath of office and understand that their oath does not expire just because they are retired. And so it's a powerful site. I just go and see the links. It's oathkeepers.org. they are basically calling out to, people who have their, their D14, D214, something like that, like papers. Either they were in military or whatever. They ask you to register and pay a fine because you're under oath to protect the Constitution and the rights of U.S. citizens. And so that is a location. This strategy number 3 is more about educating and really focusing on those with power, with training of law enforcement to make a commitment to protect our constitutional rights against an unlawful law. And they have a beautiful presentation on their site. Those who are on this presentation will get a PDF of their declaration of orders. We will not obey. It's so profound. You will all enjoy that. Strategy number 4 is about civil disobedience and the context of it. Liberty First, in all that I have researched, is really focusing, is really speaking to the people on why it is important and righteous and moral, a moral responsibility for Christians, and those who feel upright to be disobedient to an unlawful order, to be disobedient. The husband, this is a husband and wife like team. The husband is a preacher, but the wife was both military and a lawyer. She served in Florida as a prosecutor for I think like 10 years before she realized we're incarcerating a lot of people that do not need to be incarcerated. And she went full blown on educating people on their constitutional rights. This is really a tool for people who kind of need to understand, they're not convinced yet that it's okay to rebel against a tyrannical government that we have felt we, need to be underneath. And so this is a stepping stone. They have a decent amount of videos. They call them courses that explain, the constitutional provisions, the difference between, like a president and a king. And she breaks everything down in layman's terms. It's really powerful. This is great for children, civic education for children. They do require a monthly pass to access a subscription to access their videos. It's $19.95, but you will get access to everything that entire month. If you want, you can purchase for an entire year membership. It's like $8 a month, but you just pay more up front. This really is, if you know people who are just kind of insecure and they're on the fence, and they're afraid to kind of ruffle feathers because they don't know if it's right. This is step 1 for those kinds of people. If you have the capacity to get a membership and start up a meetup of some sorts and just kind of, go through the videos and the training and maybe start meetup discussions in your local community or town with your families. We need to educate society on the powers that we have and the reasons why. We can and should rebel. We can and should be disobedient at this hour. So that is Liberty First. The next strategy is freedom of the press. This site is very simple, but it has everything you need to be empowered and equipped to become a local, an independent citizen journalist. They give you the free credentials. You do have to sign their pledge and, kind of register your information and your email and stuff. And then they give you all the files. This is so important in a time where, mass censorship is running rampant. We need to have the tools to be able to record and get it on the internet and share it and distribute it. They also do have a website where you can submit your videos and anything controversial or any evidence of corruption and get that published through their site. BG2G, I myself am willing to also do reproduction of any materials, written or digital, to kind of red pill society or open people's minds and kind of campaign in that way. So, psychological endurance is the next strategy that, part of why, our state is in the state that it is, with so many people making irrational, compulsive decisions to take an experimental drug that is not working. They're not realizing that these people are lying to them. They're not realizing that they're being manipulated. They're devout to this whole ideology, this mass psychosis, mass formation, hypnosis that they're under, is because we have been psychologically, as a nation, crippled. And this is part of all the psychiatric medications cripple our ability to critical think. Too much television watching cripples our ability to critical think. This is partly why children are having an increase, like a concerning amount of anxiety at school, is because they're not used to critical thinking at home. And so we're actually having like a crisis in our schools with our children, because the idea of going to school and being challenged to critical think and problem solve is giving the children anxiety that is self-destructive. And this curriculum, DBT, it was founded by Marsha Lanahan. This curriculum has been advertised as an extensive treatment for the worst of kind of crazy individuals, to put it lightly. And through my own lived experience, I actually went through this program. And what I have found in so much healing because of this is that, like, I want to say it was Seema Gajwani. She is an attorney from from DC, District of Columbia, these acronyms, OG, like Inspector General's like office. I had a conversation with her. She said, this seems like DBT and CBT are like these fundamental trainings and education that is just one of the ways that the government has kind of hoarded this knowledge in order to keep like one leg over the mass populace, right? And so I say that because DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, a lot of therapists today will tell you, because they've been indoctrinated to think that the majority of the people don't need it unless you're suicidal and you're cutting yourself and you're just like really wild and disturbed. They say that you don't need this, but this is not the truth. Many kind of off the side psychologists and independents, they will all say the same. The skills are universal. The skills are universal. The skills are literally coping skills. Interpersonal effectiveness is basically skills on how to deal with people in your life that you like and you don't like. Not everyone innately understands how to work with people that they don't like. And if you don't know how to deal with that, you're going to react wild. And what's happened is that a lot of people, they just don't have these skills and they're acting out like children, because of the distress of anxiety, the stress of communication problems, emotions. They don't know how to deal with it. Emotion regulation is just that. How do you regulate your emotions when you're really mad? There's like 8 or 10 different skills and options that you can learn on how to deal with, different emotions through this curriculum. It's extensive. Distress tolerance. Part of distress tolerance is, how are you dealing with all this fear mongering that's going on in your television? Do you disassociate it? Do you get in denial? Do you freeze? Do you not think? Or are you able to process the information critically? That is a sign of somebody who, is psychologically strong to endure a lot of these onslaughts. What happens if someone dies in your family? Are you going to fall apart, or will you, be able to overcome? This psychological endurance is incredibly critical if we are going to basically detach from the dependency that this tyranny wants us to get. Okay, this totalitarian kind of government tyranny wants to be our daddy. They don't want to be Big Brother. They want to be your daddy, and you're the child that they get to control however they see fit, because they are smarter than you. That is what they're trying to pull us into. So if we are to stand and say, you're not smarter than me because I see right through everything that you're doing and I am strong, we need to become psychologically strong to have this type of discernment. All the skills, the wisdom literally is in these books. I put the link right there. If there are any teachers among you, any counselors among you, buy this book, learn it, teach it everywhere, to everyone, to anyone. If you purchase the book, you do get copyrights to distribute to anyone you speak with and minister to. So I have a copy of the book. I've been teaching DBT coping skills to people through my ministry, kind of as needed. These are universal principles. Children need to be equipped with all of this if you want to empower them not to be bullied by the government BS that is happening today. And adults as well. You need strategies and coping skills, strategies on how are you going to deal with it, right? If you're presented with a certain dilemma, if you're under distress, how are you going to problem solve? Literally, this is the curriculum. This is why this is so important, because this knowledge has been stripped from society at large. I cannot say this enough. This knowledge has been stripped from us in order to keep us weak and dependent. This is what you need to teach your kids, your teenagers, and all your loved ones when they're struggling with their emotions, when they're struggling with fear, when they're struggling with relationships, when they can't figure out if they should keep certain relationships or know when to walk away from a dysfunctional relationship. I'm telling you, this is wisdom in a handbook, just right there. It's all there. This is needed. So this is a call out to anybody who's interested in psychology to self-educate yourself, any teachers out there, retired teachers, and just really start teaching anybody and everybody that you know, because we need this in society. This will help us endure everything that is coming ahead.
Jason and I are laughing because we're two psych majors, and this is a topic of discussion in our kitchen daily. We're like, oh, we found somebody else who doesn't know how to look inward. Anyway, that's what we're laughing at over here if you saw my face a minute ago.
No, and it's so true. But it's like psychological endurance. Like when you look at our society today, the major coping skills is entertainment, which keeps you dumb. It's drugs, which sedates you, whether it's alcohol on a recreational. Alcohol is a drug, people. Sorry. Marijuana is a drug. Anything that sedates you.
Makes you happy too, so I mean.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, you have skills. You need skills other than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's definitely
your only personality trait is that you have,
Yes, but I live in the inner city, so those are the primary skills that people are coping with. And so when there's no money to get these, vices, people, commit crime. It's like, what? Yeah. So, skills is we need to feed it into our society, any which way, and any way that I can help to promote anything with marketing materials, let me know. I'm a huge advocate. I'm here to support. This is the last the last strategy that is holistically, it's been a cry since before George Floyd, no justice, no peace. People have been wanting and crying out for decades for a justice system that does more than just punish people, treat them like animals, and does nothing to help our communities, help our families, but instead does everything the contrary. That's our justice system today. It's punitive, and it's punitive on everyone involved. It's punitive on the families. It might be momentarily pleasing to maybe a victim, but in the it provides no long-term redress of any grievance and pain. So there has been an uprising, and this is a call out because the need will be even greater once the people are in their positions and we start awakening, and the people that are vaccinated and people start dying, and people start waking up to the corruption, people are going to be in shock. They're going to experience levels of trauma they probably never even imagined that they would endure because they trust government. I think the most people that, were really woke and knew that our government was corrupt, we're all, harmed by government in some way, shape, or form, and these people that are trusting government are just like naive. They're naive. They're blindly just naive. So restorative justice is a conflict resolution process. It cultivates forgiveness with accountability. It is not a process that excuses any person that commits a crime. They make, perpetrators of crime, like they hold them accountable on a very deep level, on a very raw and personal, like, heart level. The results of restorative justice and like the circles has just been exponentially positive all the way around. And so what I've added on this link is added on this slide is links to like some of the best presentations on restorative justice in its holistic potential. So the first link is how it's done. You'll see Seema Gujwani. She is an attorney from the Office of Inspector General, I believe. They do criminal youth in DC. They've been running a restorative justice program through the court system in DC for the last 7 years, and they have expanded to all like major crimes because of how incredibly like positive all the results are. Our punitive system basically says, what harm was done and what's the prescribed punishment, but restorative justice basically says who was harmed and how do we repair or heal the harm that was caused to all involved. So many people don't realize this, but when, you have two youths, for example, that fight against each other and, one breaks another one's leg, it's not just the youth that are harmed by that process. It's their families. Their parents have to deal with the aftermath of, oh, this one got suspended, or if they're adults, it's the girlfriend who has the baby. It's the mom who's dependent on his income. There's such a ripple effect of harm that is affected when you just choose to punish and you don't resolve or heal and address the harm. And so all the following 3 videos, restorative, how it's done is it's a tutorial straight from Seema, who's been running a program successfully in DC for 7 years through the court. She's a lawyer, professional. The following 3 are testimonials. RJ works with youth, is testimonials of how certain like youth that committed crime, and like one of them was a police officer, was violently assaulted and like injured by a youth, and he felt bad to like, if I press the charges that this kid now has, he's going to be locked up. And he's never really going to understand what he did. But they went through a restorative process and the results were incredible. victims of murder are fighting for restorative justice practices. That link will lead you to a story of a woman, a wife of another cop who was murdered, and her process for basically, identifying with the murderer of her husband, because she fought tooth and nail to get the murderer basically get the death penalty, and didn't get any healing from that process. So with time, she, realized some things, and now she's fighting for restorative. She got a restorative justice practice. It's you're just going to cry. The next one is victims of rape are fighting for it. A lot of people who are raped or endure sexual violence, it comes from family dynamics, incest dynamics, where they don't want to separate. They want understanding and closure and resolution to why certain things happened, instead of the punish them and send them to jail, So the following is basically, some leads. The movie The Prison Within is another kind of documentary on how restorative justice works. I put some logos up there. One Standard of Justice, and that little bird is Friends of Restorative Justice here in Connecticut. Look for these logos, because these are the two entities in Connecticut that are basically holding the standard of restorative justice and its potential. These are holistic solutions. They're not solutions that are just applied in a little silo. This will work throughout the entire spectrum. We need people trained. So this is a call out and a call to action for people that if politics is not your thing, there will be people who will rise up and go in, civic education is not your thing. You really want to get into the therapeutic healing side. There will be a huge need for people to be educated on these types of harms and know how to resolve it, because the trauma that is being inflicted right now by this tyranny in our government, it's unimaginable, really, how many people are being hurt who are trusting government right now, and they're just like, if they lose a child, if they lose a loved one, and what's going to happen when they realize, when it's finally in the news that they've been lying and these people get arrested. They're going to be like, what just happened? And we need people, we need nurses, we need all these people to be able to heal, because a lot of these nurses and frontline individuals who are there, they're trying to do their job. They think they're doing the right thing. And it's like Nazi Germany. They don't see that, So it's like when the truth comes out and the delusion and the mass psychosis is lifted, in that video where mass formation, I forget who the doctor was that was preaching, like talking on that and explaining that. He said that if the bubble breaks of that hypnosis that these people are under, and they are not encountered with a solution to give them a sense of relief, they will go violently crazy. And so this is something, we need people who are trained in this type of healing process in order to address the catalyst, the inundation, the demand for when people wake up. I don't know if I'm explaining that good. Like, I was like,
That
and
makes
so,
good sense to me.
thank you. So these are the strategies, the now strategies, whether you feel like teaching, host a meetup, teach anything you want on these issues, because, equip your children with coping skills. We need to be independent of government now more than ever. Anybody who wants to reach out to me can definitely do that through this channel. And any other questions, I will be handing out a lot of those a lot of just some handouts. All the handouts that I'll be giving out, though, however, are available in their respective websites.